Imagine discovering that your own father, the man you trusted most, wasn't a healer, but a killer. Imagine confronting him only to wake up locked in a strange room, guarded like a prisoner, with your own mother helping to keep you trapped. This is the story of a respected doctor who turned his family into hostages of his dark secret. And it's a nightmare you won't forget. There are crimes so twisted, so cruel, that they feel like scenes ripped straight from a horror movie. But this story is not fiction. It is the chilling account of a respected doctor, a man once trusted with lives, who turned his own family into prisoners of his dark secrets. In a quiet town, he was known as successful, a physician with a wife and one daughter. He carried himself with the calm authority of someone who held people's lives in his hands. Neighbors admired him, patients trusted him. His daughter, a young nurse, followed a different path, working in a public hospital. She was loved by patients, praised by colleagues, and seen as a beacon of hope in the community. But behind the closed doors of her father's private clinic, there was no hope. The doctor's greed was stronger than his oath to heal. He had found a way to make money not by curing the sick, but by ending their lives. Patients who walked into his clinic never walked out again. And while his reputation remained clean, rumors began to spread, whispers too faint to ignore. The daughter heard them. She overheard colleagues and townspeople say things that chilled her. Patients didn't die of their illness. They died because of her father. Terrified and torn, she confronted him one night. Her voice shook as she begged him, "Tell me it isn't true. If it is, you have to turn yourself into the police." But her father didn't break down in guilt. His eyes burned with fury, his voice low and threatening. He warned her, "Stay silent, or suffer the consequences." But she was determined. She couldn't let this go. "If you don't surrender," she told him, "I'll make sure you're arrested." That was the moment her fate was sealed. The doctor began to act differently. He became strangely gentle with her, as if he had suddenly remembered how to be a caring father. For a short time, she almost believed he had changed. One evening, he invited her to dinner. He prepared the food himself, smiling as he served her plate. She never suspected that he had laced it with poison. As she ate, she began to feel strange. Her limbs grew heavy, her vision blurred, and soon her body went limp. She collapsed, slipping into unconsciousness, her father watching every second. When she finally woke, she wasn't in her own bed. She wasn't even in her hometown. Her father had taken her to a distant town far away from everything she knew. There, he locked her in a small, dark room. The windows were covered, the doors bolted, and outside stood a bodyguard paid to watch her day and night, making sure she never escaped. Her mother knew what had happened. She knew where her daughter was. But instead of saving her child, she chose to stand beside her husband. She stayed silent, protecting his secret. Days turned into weeks. The daughter was given just enough food to survive. The walls of the room became her prison. Every time she heard footsteps outside her door, she wondered if they were coming for her or if this was the moment her father would finally end her life. But secrets have a way of slipping through cracks, no matter how carefully they're buried. Rumors about the missing daughter reached the ears of investigative journalists. Curious and alarmed, they came to the doctor and his wife with questions. "Where is your daughter?" they asked. The couple smiled coldly, pretending nothing was wrong. "She's living happily in another town," they said. But the journalists weren't convinced. Something about the couple's story felt polished, rehearsed, and so they began to dig. They spoke to neighbors who whispered that the daughter had vanished suddenly without a word. They searched for official records but found nothing, no proof she had moved, no sign of her life in another town. The deeper they dug, the darker the trail became. Finally, the journalists uncovered the truth. Hidden in that distant town, in a locked and guarded room, they found her. She was pale, weak, and terrified. Her once bright eyes had dimmed with fear, but when the door opened, and she realized it wasn't her father, it wasn't the guard relief washed over her face. She had been alive, but barely surviving, imprisoned by the very man who had raised her. The discovery sent shock waves through the community. A respected doctor had been exposed as both a killer and a captor. His wife was revealed as an accomplice, choosing loyalty to her husband over the life of her only daughter. And the daughter herself, a nurse who saved lives, had been betrayed in the most horrifying way by the man who had given her life. What drives a person, especially a doctor sworn to protect life, to become a monster? Was it greed, fear of being exposed, or something darker, something that had always been inside him? Whatever the reason, the truth eventually came out. And when it did, it revealed not only a crime, but a nightmare. Because sometimes the scariest monsters aren't the ones lurking in shadows or hiding under beds. Sometimes the real monsters are the ones we trust the most, the ones who live right beside us, wearing the mask of family. And in this case, that mask finally slipped, revealing the true face of horror. If you found this story disturbing, remember this is just one of many chilling tales hidden in plain sight. Here on Unseen Evil, we bring to light the darkest stories most people never hear about. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another descent into the shadows. Because evil is everywhere and most of the time, it is unseen.